Hello, girls and ghouls. Halloween is almost upon us, and I thought, let's take a break from talking about music or alcohol. Let's talk about some movies. Now, instead of my favourite movies, I'm just going to go with my most watched movies during Halloween. So these are my top 5 most watched horror films during Halloween. Starting off with Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses. Yeah, the disc is loose. Yeah, the little push things, you don't hold the disc. It has broken over the years of constant rewatches every year. So, yeah, you can tell I watched it quite a lot. And why this one over Devil's Rejects? Well, quite frankly, Devil's Rejects doesn't really fit the category of either Halloween or horror. It is more of a... how would I describe Devil's Rejects? It's more of a... I guess it's more of a thriller, really, isn't it? A bunch of psychotic serial killers on the run from the law and happen to be likeable, so you kind of root for them to get away. That's pretty much what that is. It's a sequel to House of a Thousand Corpses, but it doesn't fit the theme. House of a Thousand Corpses is much more based on Halloween and horror than Devil's Rejects ever was. You could argue which one's the better film. Devil's Rejects would probably got rated as the better film, better acting, but House of a Thousand Corpses, for this list anyway, fits the criteria to a T. Great effects, somewhat great storytelling. Some of it can be a bit cheesy, but with Halloween horror films, cheesy is kind of essential at times. Name one that doesn't have cheesy bits. Go on. Exactly. Kind of hard. Some of your favourites are cheesy as fuck. Has a great cast of characters, lots of dynamic plot twists. Like a lot of classic horror films, you're kind of watching it and you're not sure who to actually root for. Some of them are quite horrible and others are just dickheads that you kind of hope get what's coming to them. My favourite character is probably Captain Spaulding. I think he's probably everyone's favourite character deep down. He's just gross and nasty and it's fucking hilarious watching him. Least favourite has to be Sherry Moon Zombie's character. I just don't like Sherry Moon Zombie as an actress. I wish Rob would stop hiring her for every fucking film. Yes, she's your wife, I get it, but still, come on. My interest in Monsters dropped off as soon as I found out she was in it. She's probably the most annoying character in this film. Her voice, her cadence, everything's fucking irritating. But in this particular film, it kind of works. It doesn't in any other Rob Zombie film, but in this one, it kind of works for what they're going for. So it fits the bill. Has gruesome scenes, has stupid outlandish scenes like people being sewn together and face masks and stuff, kind of Ed Gein-y. Has weird... I'm not sure if it's incest or what, but there's deformities in the family and stuff like that. Hits every fucking tick mark that you have in a classic Halloween horror film. So, definitely entertaining to watch. You might not think it's good, but you will probably be entertained by it. You're not going to be sat there bored at all. It is very entertaining. And it's probably the first thing I ever seen Rainn Wilson in. So, it's got that for it because I never really watched The Office USA. So, yeah. Good film. The next film on my list is, of course, Peter Jackson's Brain Dead. Now, talking about disturbing, I was probably 10 when I watched this film. Like most horror films, I think 10 years old is about the age. 8 to 10 is when you start watching them. You know, sometimes your parents let you, and sometimes you have to sneak about. I had to sneak to watch this one because this was on Channel 4 and it was one of those soon-to-be banned films. Yeah, what can you say about Brain Dead? It's kind of a cross between Evil Dead and Story of Ricky. Very gruesome, very funny, very entertaining. Great cast of characters again. Some of the scenes just stay with you for years to come. I'll never look at a lawnmower or a bowl of custard the same ever again, thanks to this film. It's gruesomely entertaining. It's so underrated as well. When people think Peter Jackson, it's always Lord of the Rings, but in my opinion, Brain Dead should be up there. It is better than Return of the King. Yeah, I said that. But what is Brain Dead exactly? Is it a zombie film? Yeah, I guess you could call it a zombie film. Completely different origin to regular zombie film. So basically, if you can grasp this origin, some sort of rat monkey bites a person and they start falling apart. Kind of like a zombie. If they bite you, you do the same thing. Yeah, it's weird, hard to grasp at times, but just don't think about that scientifically. Just watch it for what it is. It's a disturbingly entertaining film. It goes by so quickly. Yeah, I watched this film over and over at Halloween. I've not yet watched it this year, actually. I'm saving up for these 5 films. I usually watch them. Well, since Halloween is on a Sunday this year, I'm going to watch them on a Saturday. So if my memory's not hugely great at the moment, that's because I've not watched it in a year. Like, the main character is just this lovable loser. Quite typical of these films. Lives with his mother, pretty much nurses her. There's no romance in his life at all. Probably a virgin. Until she gets ill. Then all hell breaks loose, and it's fucking entertaining as hell. Next film on my list is Sam Raimi's Evil Dead 2. Yes, this is my favourite of the trilogy by far. I think it's the most entertaining of the 3. Yeah, the first one actually probably fits horror theme more, but I think this one's more entertaining. It's just sheer entertainment, kind of reboots. The beginning is like a reboot of the original film. It's not entirely the same. Well, that's because they couldn't have it follow on directly from the original film. It wouldn't quite work. And it goes in this completely alternative direction. Instead of horror, it's more campy, goofy gore. But this is what makes the legendary Bruce Campbell come to life. Like, before that, he was just this kind of B-movie actor that you've seen in that film. Hard to separate him, I guess, from other things other than his chin. This transformed him into a fucking legend in the B-movie world. Like, this made him go into A movies. For no other reason than it's Bruce fucking Campbell. Hell, people probably didn't know who he was, but they still put him in because they were entertained by him. And there's too many scenes to really point out how goofy this is. I mean, just chasing after his severed hand with a shotgun is one of the most hilarious scenes in the film. Especially when he starts really going crazy and laughing, and then everything else in the house, all these inanimate objects, are also laughing along with him. And then he notices they're laughing. There's a slight pause, and then they all start laughing again, even louder. It's just lunacy defined, but it's so fucking good. It's a masterpiece. In some films you go, it has just about the right amount of gore. This one's just over the top. They don't give a shit. Blood and guts and all sorts flying about. It is everywhere. It's non-stop. This man is having the worst day of his life. Poor Ash. How anyone would survive this, I don't know, let alone what's going to happen to him later on in the third film. But the third film it kept up with the goofy trend, but went a bit too far, in my opinion. It was just a bit too silly. It didn't have enough of the horror elements in there, like the original did, whereas Evil Dead 2 kind of has it still in there, so it's not too far placed from the original. So that's why that has made it in my list. And yeah, it's by far the most entertaining film on the list. And because it's not directly from the first one, you don't have to watch the first one to watch this one. It's a standalone movie in itself. So I've watched this film far more than any of the others in the trilogy. And I won't even speak of the remake. So my second most watched horror film of all time it was hard to actually put it in the list because I kept thinking, I could put it in sci-fi, not strictly horror. I have to watch it at Halloween. But it has all the classic horror elements in it. It has the lone protagonist trying to survive. Has unstoppable killing machine, as it were, unstoppable force, just killing all her co-workers, everybody that she lives with, except for her. Has some of the best jump scares, has all the attention and atmosphere that you really need in a classic horror. And of course, in space, no one can hear you scream. It's Alien. Now, Ridley Scott's Alien is what I would call a masterpiece of horror. It really is. I know it's also sci-fi, but it transcends that. It's just a futuristic horror film. It's fucking fantastic. Ever since I saw it as a kid, I've been obsessed with this film. The xenomorphs, as it were. They're just so creepy and weird looking, and how they move and how they sound. It's just phenomenal. And the way that they did it as well, with the motion sensors tracking them, especially in the tunnel corridor thing. No, yeah, the air vents. In the air vents, that scene. It's behind you. Amazing. I love it. Absolutely love it. Sigourney Weaver showing that women could be badasses all the way back then, without having to be dramatic and over the top. Just, she happens to be a female and she's just as badass as any male has ever been in any standalone survival horror film. In fact, she's probably even more badass, because she keeps coming back for more. And I know Aliens is probably even more higher rated, I guess. I don't know. Kind of 50-50, Alien versus Aliens. Both very good films, but Aliens is definitely an action film more than horror. Yeah, there's a lot more of the xenomorphs, but then it takes away that feeling and fear of, oh my god, what is it? Because when you have loads of them, it's not as bad. I don't know why that is, but it just doesn't work as well. But when there's one of them, you don't know where it is, or what it is. It could be anywhere. You're not sure how to deal with it. You don't have all these weapons that they did in the sequel. You're just a mining ship or whatever they are. No, that's Red Dwarf. Well, I don't know what the ship was. I can't remember what the ship was. Like I say, it's been about a year now. But that's not important. They're not military, they're not Marines. They're probably just a delivery thing. I tried to ignore Prometheus. Let's pretend Prometheus didn't happen. As always. Or Resurrection. Or the third one. Alien and Aliens are fantastic. Alien, in my opinion, is the better film. Just like I prefer Terminator to Terminator 2. Terminator could have made this list, in fact, but Alien is better. So that's why I'm going with Alien. Absolutely fantastic movie. Go watch it. You have to watch it. I'm sure you've watched it. I mean, the people that say I've never watched Alien, why? I don't think my girlfriend's watched Alien and she never watches it with me. Poor excuse. Sci-fi, I don't like sci-fi. Fuck off. You've watched sci-fi films. I know you've watched sci-fi films. Just watch this one with me. Then I'll shut up. I'll leave you alone. And I just love the setup of the android, Ian Holmes. Is that his name? He's really they know, he knows that these creatures are out there, and he's there to keep one for study, not to destroy, to bring back the scientific study or whatever. In fact, he's having this cyborg, as it were, which is heartless, obviously, which programmed like that, adds another element to this horror of you're not sure who to trust. How can you trust? And it does a great payoff in the sequel as well. Like the classic chest burst scene is probably what you think of when you think of this movie. Brilliantly filmed by John Hurt. It's fantastic, and it has been copied and duplicated and mocked multiple times. It's hard now to watch that scene without thinking of Spaceballs. So if you've never watched Alien, you've never watched Spaceballs, watch Alien a few times and enjoy the horror before you watch Spaceballs, as it will make fun of it. But it still fucking works. I could still watch it and appreciate it without Spaceballs ruining it. And I think what makes Alien work so well is also because they're in a small ship. You know, it's not like you're in a town or a village where you just keep running or drive off and keep going. You can't go. This what's out there, space. Instant death if I go out there. I can't get away. I'm trapped in this can, this floating can in space with this alien that's going to rip me apart. And even if I stab it, it bleeds fucking acid, so it still hurt me. It's just this surreal, unbelievable horror like trapped in there. But only Sigourney Weaver's badass enough to survive this. The atmosphere is brilliant, the effects are brilliant, the set design's brilliant, the soundtrack is brilliant. Everything's brilliant about this movie. It could easily be number one, if not for how badass number one is. Which is coming up right now. And my favourite horror film, well, this is my most watched horror film. It's not favourite, but this one could be my favourite anyway. It's hard to put a film above this one in the horror category. So I think this one might be my favourite actually. But most watched horror film. And it's also a sci-fi, another reason why Terminator sadly couldn't make the list. Didn't want 3 in a row sci-fi. But number one, and I think you'll agree, it's probably better than the first Terminator and Alien in terms of horror film. The Thing. John Carpenter's masterpiece. This is his best film by far, in my opinion. I know he's done some great horror films. I know he's got classics. I know he's got ones that are probably even more thought of, that stand out more. Halloween. But The Thing is the superior movie by far. By far. Better storyline, better script, better acting, better actors. Easily. Better setting, more original setting. It's more unique. Like the only film you can compare this to is Invasion of the Body Snatchers. But that one doesn't have the effects that this one has. Even the fucking remake decades later doesn't have the effects that this one has. It's awful. I don't know how they screwed it up. They don't even try. The spider head scene. Everyone knows that from the original classic. Don't think they even tried it in the remake. But yeah, this has so much going for it. It's so entertaining. It has Kurt Russell, one of the best actors Hollywood has ever had. Needs to be in more films. Everything he's been in has been fantastic. Has this brilliant way of just moving the story along. From action from the very beginning to suddenly slow down, get the characters' development going in perfectly. Strange things happening. Why are these dogs barking? What's actually happening here? Because you don't know what's happening. Without looking it up, just watching the movie for what it is, not having any research, it's just how I watched it when I was a kid. It was just on, so I watched it. I'm like, what's this film about? What is it about surviving the cold? Because you see all this snow and then chasing after this. Is he Polish or Russian or something? But not speaking English, but they're trying to kill this dog. And you're like, why the fuck would you want to harm a dog? I hate people that hurt animals. So straight away you're like, fuck this guy. Yeah, rescue the dog. Yes, this is great. Right, done. What's this film about then? And it turns out, oh, that's not a dog at all. And not only that, it doesn't stay as a dog. It becomes what it kills. This shape-shifting monster thing. This alien. Which has also been parodied and copied so many times now. But you have to go with The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing. Because there is another Thing that's even older, but it's not really the same thing. That's like some spaceman from space killing people. It's completely different. What makes it so good? Well, for one, you're not sure who you can trust. You, the viewer, you're not in control. Every other horror film, you kind of know, right, there's a serial killer monster, something on the loose. You know what it is, so you know that the people you're watching, they can be dickheads at times, but you kind of know, right, I know who it is I'm watching. This film, you don't. You don't know if you're watching the monster itself in hiding, in disguise. So it becomes very unnerving because you can't really get comfortable ever. Because horror movies are always trying to make you comfortable just so they can do that cheap, shitty jump scare that never fucking works. Because you know it's coming. They'll always have the same setup. This eerie music will come in. They'll be looking at a fucking mirror. Because they fucking love mirrors in these stupid horror films. None of that shit in this. They don't need it. You're constantly at tension because you don't know where this thing is or what it's looking like. It could be any of them. And of course, this paranoia from not knowing who to trust and tension is in the film. They don't know who's what. Can they trust each other? Who knows? They start tearing each other apart from the inside and they're in a circles. So you don't know who to trust. It's just fantastic to watch. And you as a viewer, even at the end, you're not entirely sure what happens. Who is who at the end? Don't know. Because there's theories, isn't there? If you've not seen the film, spoiler alert, at the end, they're having a drink of whiskey. Or is it whiskey? Some people say the whiskey was poured out and petrol was put in because obviously the monster doesn't taste things like humans can. So people think Kurt Russell passed him the drink, he drank it because he didn't react like it was horrible. He knew it was the alien, but it's not confirmed. I don't think it's confirmed anyway. I don't think John Carpenter confirmed it. I think it's just a fan theory. I think it's up in the air. Either way, it's just two people left. One of them must be the shapeshifter. We don't know who or how they're going to figure it out. So that was one theory of it. It's just a fantastic movie. I love it. And a bit like Alien, because they're in the Antarctic, you can't really go far away and survive. You will probably freeze to death. So they're kind of stuck in the compounds that they're in with this creature. But even worse, they don't know what this creature's looking like because it changes. So that adds to the dynamics of this movie. It's just fantastic. You can't relax during it, and because of that, you're constantly on the edge of your seat. And that is what makes a classic fucking horror film for Halloween. Absolutely love it. I have watched it so many times. It's a brilliant film. And it can make me laugh. Him losing a computer chess and just pouring whiskey into the fucking hard drive. It's fucking hilarious. It makes me laugh every time. So yeah, that was my list of 5 most watched horror films. Obviously there's others that I've watched a lot of, but sometimes they're not as replayable. Like Exorcist, for example. Great atmosphere, great tension. It's this classic horror film feeling. Amazing for that, but it can drag on a bit. It doesn't always have that tension going. Sometimes, after a few watches, it's like, a bit boring in places. Although it does have probably the best jump scare of all time. If that's what you could call it. I guess it's a jump scare, but it's not at the same time because it's like the first one of its kind. Because it doesn't do any of the setup that I was talking about previously. It doesn't have any of that cliche shit. So you don't know it's coming, and there's no dramatic sound effect. They like to just turn the volume up, and really you're not getting scared of what you're seeing. It's just noise, startling. You're not really scared. Well, this doesn't do any of this. This is silent. This is subtle. I think you all know. Everyone that's seen Exorcist knows what scene I'm talking about. I won't throw out a spoiler if you've not seen it. You won't see it coming. Hell, on multiple watches, I forget that it's going to happen. And when it happens, it got me again. Amazing scene. But not all the movie is as good as that. And so I've not watched it as often. I definitely don't watch it yearly. It's probably been about 4 years since I watched Exorcist. Great film, but not as replayable as these 5. And again, Friday the 13th, Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah, they're all classics. But the formulas are quite similar to each other. Kind of predictable at times. And yeah. And having loads of sequels as well doesn't help, because they just get worse, in my opinion. Halloween's good up to 3, I think. Because Halloween 3 is so much different. But then it goes back to the Mike Myers thing, and it's seen all that. Bit predictable. One of the Nightmare on Elm Streets was really good. Can't remember which one it was, the numbers, but it was the one where it's basically about the making of the film. It's the actual actors playing themselves, and then Freddy somehow comes to life anyway. Kind of a nice, unique twist on the franchise, but yeah, still don't watch it that often, really. Anyway, let me know in the comments what are your 5 most watched horror films. Like I say, it's not necessarily favourites, just your most watched. The ones you go to every Halloween, like, I have to watch this again and again. So please like, subscribe, and have a horrific Halloween.